Hey, I'm live. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Drop a chat in the note, and sorry if I sounded disgruntled. Hold on, you're going to look at the ground again. Oops. Okay, I think this is secure. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, I have to press it down. All right, I think we're secure. I'm trying to. Hey, Renee. Okay, good. Um, okay, hold on. Sorry, you're going to have to look at the asphalt again. There we go. Well, I can make it do that. Okay, I'm trying to rig this up. Now, my phone is getting hot again, which I hate. Okay, I'm trying to rig this up so you can see something. Oh, no, that's not going to work. Let's see if I can get it to do that. No. Well, oh, no, not really. Well, maybe I just carefully lean you guys like that. I'll show you what I'm doing in a minute. So I saw this setup on Instagram of all places, and I thought, I'm going to try this and see if it works. Now, we're going to be kind of a slow, weird start today because I have to run inside and see if my bread is I put a loaf in about a half an hour ago and it's getting to the end and I have to run in and make sure it doesn't burn and pull it out of the oven and all that bread stuff. Okay, so get everything out and situated. So of course I'm totally discombobulated. So whoop, whoop, there we go. Oh, I can use this to flip maybe this here. Oh, that'll work. Okay. So here's my setup right now. And I have this viewfinder. So if you guys are interested in doing plein air stuff, this guy, I forget his name on Instagram. Hold on, I gotta put hands down. He brings out these cardboard viewfinders. And I thought, okay, so it's relatively the same size. It is definitely the same ratio, which is the most important thing. But yeah. So let's see, if I'm sitting up, I'm seeing a lot of lawn, so I'm gonna fake it and put some robins in there. Yeah, that's good enough. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of lawn, no sky, and dark bushes in the back. But depending on where I put you guys, you might see a tree and a bush and all that stuff. So, yeah. Um, ooh, Leslie's cooking applesauce. Okay, I will bring the bread. You bring the applesauce. Who wants to bring soup? um, Okay, so yeah. So that's kind of where we are. Sorry, I'm just a little bit scattered right now. I still have to go in and get my hat and check the bread. So I think if you're gonna paint along with me, if I lean, so I'm gonna lean the phone up right here and the lens is right where I'm poking you in the eye. And I have no way to clip it on there, so that's okay. We'll just have to make do. All right. And if the phone gets hot, which I hope it won't, like it did the last time, I'm just going to restart. I love making soup. I can actually eat soup in the summer. It doesn't matter. I love soup so much. Okay. All right. Let me go run inside, grab my hat, and let's see. I have my brushes because I have them in a brush roll now. I'm all oh, and I have cloths. So I'm good. Okay. I'm going to put my brush roll there. And cloths in here. All right, so decide what of this you would like to paint, and I will be right back. All right, I'm back. How is everyone? Okay. Um, I will pick up every so often so that you can see what I'm doing, or do you just want to see what I'm doing? What's here? I'm going to pick you guys up right now. So, what's better for you? Um, do you want to see what I'm seeing and then me paint it, or do you want to work alongside me and paint something? Actually, that's a really nice scene right there. Um, what are you guys doing? Are you working on your own camp projects? What do you tell me what you want? And I'm gonna put out a cloth. Let's see. I think I want here. Actually, this can just freehand. Okay, so Leslie's working on a red-tailed hawk. Oh, I know what inspired you. Aren't they wonderful? Um, and Renee's working on a camp project. So I'll go between both. Unless somebody else is actually if you are working off of whatever scene I put the phone on, then let me know and I won't move the phone. But there's only 5 of you here, so unless I hear from the other 3, I will go between what I'm doing and then put the phone down, blah blah blah. Hey Martha. So I found these brushes in my stash because I was cleaning out my supply closet. They're the Princeton Heritage One Touches. Uh-oh, it says my connection is unstable. You guys let me know if I go in and out. Um, and so I'm kind of trying them out again. I did not love them in the past, and I do not love them now. I like the Princeton Heritage brushes. I'm not really a big fan of using a flat brush with watercolor. I like to use like one of my quills to spread it around. So maybe I'll use this to mix whatever's on the palette. Um, yeah, that's fun. I know plein air is really fun. I've been in the studio all week, for 2 weeks actually, trying to, I had trouble transferring that really big owl, and so now I've just started to paint it. It's due not this Friday, but next Friday, so I don't know what I was thinking. But the frame comes tomorrow, so maybe that'll keep me motivated. But so I thought I need a break outside the studio. Um, I'm just whoops. Oh, yep, now the bugs are getting me. I am okay, so I'm looking through my viewfinder and I'm just gonna do some like soft stuff. I'm laying down some water first, just kind of judging where my horizon is. I'm not really paying too much attention. Um, Depending on if I sit up straight or not, I think I'll just slouch. The horizon is kind of right down here, so that's good. So I'm just going to put a pale wash in there of whatever green I had on my palette. So I don't wash off my palette because watercolor, you can always reactivate it and use it again. Let's put a little bit more of this light green in there. And maybe I'm going to throw in some quinacridone gold too to kind of zhuzh it up. All right. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. So I'm thinking it's kind of right here. Maybe I made that too high, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to bring it down a little. I'm working vertical, which is going to be real fun. Usually, watercolor, you don't work vertical. I work, though, nearly vertical in the studio just because my paintings are so big right now and it's more comfortable. Okay, so I'm just putting in a ground. Um, there's like a darker, cooler green. So let's see. Let's go ahead and add a little phthalo to that, which cools it off. Maybe it made it a little too cool. I also needed a little dull. So let's add a little burnt sienna to take that chroma down. And maybe a little bit chromatic black. Yeah, there we go. I'm keeping it real wet. So let's see. I'm going to lower that horizon a little. Yeah. Maybe put this in the back. And then move that kind of off. Yeah, good enough. And then while I've got this dark color, I'm squinting my eyes down. Oh, I should sit up straight so you see what I'm seeing. So I'm kind of squinting my eyes down and creating, it's like a dark shape right there. I have to remember to put you at the same angle that I'm at. It's actually coming up and then kind of coming around like so. And there's some here and some there. And then there's some really bright greens. So I'm picking up the color I have closest on my palette to that bright green, which is this one. Yeah. So, yeah, that's good enough. Which is that one. I'm just mixing it into what I've already got. Because my palette can take it. Can mix all the colors together. All right. So I'm just so there's like this really light part right here. I'm just going to put that in. And then, see, there's a cooler part right here on this side. I'm just going to put this in anyways. And there's some here. And then, whoops, let's see. I'm just going to mix kind of my middle green. Again, I'm just picking up what's closest because this is just the background. I'm going to wet it down a bit. Maybe wet this down too. And I'm just going to put that middle green everywhere else. I'm just kind of looking. Because this is still wet, I can kind of move that down a bit. That kind of straightens up and comes this way. Let's pick up some of that cooler stuff. And then I've got shadows that kind of come this way. And just kind of this way. Up in here. And up in there. See, doesn't it look exactly like that now? All right. Oh. Okay, hold on. Crisis. Whoops. Okay, you get to look at the ground for a minute. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. So let's chit chat while this dries because I can't really work into it until it's dried off more. This is like really wet. This is all really wet. And I want to go over it more precisely now. So, how is everybody? How has everybody been enjoying their summer? Hey, Carol. Hey, Denise. There's a bunch of people. I'm on my phone, so I'm trying to figure out, let's see. I can see. Oh, here. Oh, there we go. I'm just gonna see if anybody said anything. Okay. Thanks, Martha. I'm hoping it goes really smoothly too. Knock on wood. Oh boy. But it's good to be outside. Okay. I have to figure out where to put my palette because maybe I will undo this and clip it. It really needs to be clipped so it doesn't fly off. So now put clipping. Oh, that might work. Nope, it moves too much. Hold on. I'm going to set you down so you can look at something lovely while I figure out what's happening with my setup here. It's also sinking to the right. Oops. Okay. Maybe put it right here. And I've done something to the tripod that knocked it out of alignment. Oops. There we go. Okay, that might work better. Let's see. So Renee says she's doing well, but it's been very busy. Yes, I did not think it was going to be that busy, but it has been a busy summer. Ooh, your vegetables are coming in. Nice. Do you can them and then put them away for the winter? And Leslie says it's been a nice summer. And today, clear air and sunshine. Are you still getting the smoke from Canada? The wildfires have been crazy. And then what's been happening in Ohio has been crazy. Okay, I'm going to try to clip this again. Oh, I think I have an idea for this. Let's. Whoops. Okay, I have to put you down again. Here. Whoops. Oh, no, it's not going to work that way. Shoot. So my palette is just slightly too big for the. I will figure this Plein thing out eventually. There. Okay, here we go. All right, I think I can feel it's really wet here, but you know what? I think we'll just work into it. And let me go ahead and pick up. So if you ever have something running off, your brush is like a sponge. It will just pick up whatever you've got. All right, now I'm going to use my smaller brushes. I think I'm going to tilt this a little. Down again. It alters my viewfinder, but that's okay. Kind of know where I'm going with this now. Yeah, I'm gonna take a smaller brush. Let's take one of the spotters. I'm gonna see what's on my palette. I've got brown. And so I'm just gonna reactivate it with water. And of course I'm dipping into my clean water for that. um, okay. So, but I don't want it to be quite so warm. And again, I forgot how I made this brown. I'm thinking I used black and, um I think I used black and burnt sienna and a little bit anthraquinoid red the last time. But because of the Munzel palette, I can pretty much mix anything I want. So basically, the Munzel system is you choose your local color or the color you think everything is, just generally something is, and then you tone it to be what it is. So that way you don't really waste any paint. Nothing turns into mud. It all mixes together. So I have this base brown. I just know that I want it to be cooler. So I'm going to mix some ultramarine into it to kinda cool it down. Do you see how it's now turning into a gray? A brownish gray? Okay, so I'm gonna try that. A little bit more water in it, just so it moves a little bit more. Okay, and then let's see. And so I kinda squint my eyes and just kinda use the tip of the brush and put it in there. It could be a little lighter. And then I'm just kinda connecting the shape. So I have this kind of shape that's sitting kinda right here. That's that. And then I can kinda connect it to something that's happening right here and something that kind of comes up this way, comes up here in the back. This has been a very freeing way to paint because you know how exact and precise I am. So this has been a lot of fun to just kind of mess around. Then I'm gonna really water this down and maybe add some cool green. It's one of my cool greens. So it still stays cool, but I want it to kind of have more of a greeny look to it. This is going to be the shadow on the grass. And the thing about shadows, they're very colorful. They pretty much will be a version of the color of whatever they're casting a shadow on. Okay, that might be added a little more blue. And we'll see that might actually not be a good color, but then I can always tone over it. Okay, so now Kind of right in here. So Renee's following up on the question. She does some canning and some freezing. Oh, it's a tomato tsunami. Yes, I remember that from when my mom used to grow. My mom's a gardener. I am the one who brings the plants to her and says, "Please make them live again," which is really amazing because I love plants. I just kill them all the time. Um, but I remember as a kid, yeah, cu cucumbers, zucchinis, and tomatoes. We just couldn't get out from under those constantly. Okay, that just does not look like anything, but that's okay. It doesn't have to. We're just trying stuff out. I'm gonna put some more of the lighter blue. Whoa, there we go. Oh, I know what's happening. Now my palette is totally sinking the other way. Okay. Well, this is gonna be fun. Okay, so I think this leg keeps moving away. Thought I locked these in place. Okay, maybe that'll work. Okay, here we go. You could do so many things with tomato sauce and, um, you know, so many things. I'm gonna take a bigger brush, I think. Not that big. I'll do this one. So one thing I'm learning with the plein air and watercolor, because this is just so new to me. What I'm learning is that I actually like using my quill brushes the best just because they are not precise and I can just slap some paint on there and just kind of think of shapes. Okay. I actually want that to be a little bit thicker and maybe a little greener. So that's why I have two yellows so I can dip into the Hansa yellow medium without hitting this one, which I dipped into anyways. I have to clean that out. Without dipping into the one that takes the reds. Otherwise, Ooh, sunlight. Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and just put that right there. So I'm looking at the shape. It's like a shape right here. Just going right over it. Kind of a big triangle shape. And then there's another one that comes here and here. Up in there. And believe it or not, this part, it's still bright, but not as bright. You see how in the front it kind of Right here too, there's like a little, it's probably the wrong color, but that's okay. I'm gonna blot my brush and kind of mush this around. Okay, that worked. Banana. All right, now I'm gonna kind of look at the greens. I have kind of this cooler bluey green. Let's see. I'm losing the plot of this. There's like darker bluey greens, but there's like lighter bluey greens. Kind of like right in here. But it's also a little duller. So I've kind of mixed this. It's called Cascade Green. It's kind of a blue green. And because it already has it's a mix of phthalo blue and some other stuff. Can't remember what else is in it. Anyways, or it could be phthalo green and phthalo blue and something else plus a little bit of burnt sienna. So I'm going to put that in there. Maybe add a little bit of ultramarine too. So I want it dull and cool, but still will read green. There we go. Okay. So I'm kind of picking it up. I'm going to blot a little. There's that sunlight again. So I'm going to kind of put it, I'm seeing it right in here. There's like this bright patch, so I don't want to get in there at all. And then it kind of transitions. Oops. Smell this in there. It's a little bluer. And I'm going to put kind of my middle earthy green. This is actually a mineral called apatite, green apatite. Kind of mix it with that. Kind of put it right in here. So I want some of that yellowy green to come through. And let's see, might as well put some of this just right up here. Just kind of mixing things together. That was my shadow color. I'm gonna pick up some more of that middle green and kind of mix it between the two. So all I'm kind of doing is adjusting the temperature here because that's going to read just a little less intense. A little, it still reads dark, but it won't read quite as. Now I'm going to go back to that darker one. It just won't read quite as dark. A little bit more blue in there. I'm going to blot it a little. Okay, I'm gonna let things dry because I've got like a kind of the beginnings of a bush here. Okay, I'm adding some more of that cool green. So it's this color. It's called Cascade Blue, Cascade Green, and it's a Daniel Smith kind of an exclusive color. Although I've seen another brand kind of have a dupe, because all it is I'm trying to remember what's in the mix. Phthalo blue green shade, not to be confused with this, which is phthalo green blue shade. Um, there is burnt sienna in this, and I'm thinking there's some quinacridone gold in there too to help it even be more um, green, because phthalo blue is very strong and not a green color at all. But it needs a really, really strong yellow. And so I think it's quinacridone gold in there. So you can certainly make it yourself. I just have it as a convenience color. But it's called Cascade Green because it's like if you've ever been in the Pacific Northwest, it's kind of like the the trees in the forest there. So I find it a really, really useful color to have, along with this one, which is Green Apatite Genuine, an earthy green. This is a mineral, so it's not a mix, and it doesn't have a pigment number. And then the other mineral color I keep always on my palette is this one, which is Serpentine Genuine. Also doesn't have a pigment number because it's not a pigment, it's a rock. It's a mineral. Um, but here's something to help you with your greens. I use these three and I go in between. Um, Sometimes I will mix a green using phthalo green. Oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry. That was more Cascade. I will mix my greens using phthalo green, blue shade, and then I can either pop some Hansa Yellow Medium in there. I can pick up some quinacridone gold and put it in there. See how it gives a different color green. I can even use raw sienna, but the problem with using raw sienna is it is not a very strong color, and so the phthalo green will just eat it up. So I find it useful for toning, not for mixing my greens, but I have done that before. Um, but if you are mixing your own greens and you're doing lots of trees and foliage and stuff like that, the best way to do is to kind of create your middle green. Let's say I'm going to make a bright middle green. So here's like a middle green. And then make a side of your puddle that has more of your yellow and a side of your puddle that has more of your phthalo green. Um, Phthalo green can be a little harsh, so I would throw in some ultramarine blue. And then I would throw in some burnt sienna to tone it down because it's too chromatic. And if you're confused about chroma, go back to the lessons I did in the Tuesday post that I did. What was that? We're August, so that would have been April, May. And have a look at what I said there about chroma and temperature and all that stuff. That'll help you. But when you have a mix like that, and even though none of that is in here because I was using these three, I will demonstrate. This is going to be a lot more chromatic than what I had. But say in the case of this lawn, or let's do these trees over here. So in the case of these trees, if I'm looking at kind of like my middle green right there, and I need to think of a darker, because we're getting off and more down here to the darkness. And then you think about where the sun is hitting, kind of up in here. Oh, I just got bit. What it does is it kind of creates some depth. So I'm going to do it with the colors that I'm using. So it's darker as you get down here. It gets kind of lighter. And I'm seeing dark right around here. And then there's a lot of light right up in here. And because I'm using serpentine, maybe I'll just dip into that. I usually bump up my serpentine a little bit with a yellow. Yeah, that works. Then I can go in here, whoops, pick up a little bit more dark. And kind of right up in here. So it creates this mass. Later on, I can take a pen and go in there and actually give it some leafy texture, but it kind of creates. So you have to kind of weed out all the little leaves that we can see and think in terms of just these big shapes. And actually, I probably should have put a nice bit of light right in here. So I'm just going to remove some of that. Like so. And let it dry off a little bit. Oops. Let's take some of that out too. So put some of this back in. I'm going to let it dry off a little bit. See what's happening? It wants to follow the water. So I'm just going to let it dry off, and then I'm going to hit that with a really bright yellowy green. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to make my piles again. So for me, I use Green Apatite Genuine most of the time as my middle green. And I remember to clean my brush off. The Serpentine Genuine as my light green. And I like to hit it with a little quinacridone gold, make it really bright. And then pick up some of this Cascade green for my darks. Whoops. That's one way to get all the greens out. I'll figure out where all these go later. Oops, they're sticking together. So I jerry-rigged this. It's only supposed to have pans outside, and then you put your brush in the middle, a travel brush, but I just jammed more colors in there. 'Cause, you know. Let's see. Do a little bit more of that. And I need a little bit more of this. All right, let's see how we're drying off. Nope, still too wet, but I think, yeah, I can put some of that lighter green right in here. So I'm just gonna blot and smush and kind of work in. I can even add just little plops of quinacridone gold in there too. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone because it's starting to get a little tide mark that I'm gonna paint right over. I don't know what else to say. Let's boost the chroma of this one a little. So I'm kind of looking in the front. And I'm gonna try to splay my brush out. Yeah, there we go. So just kind of right in here. It worked up there. Okay. I want that middle green, but I want it to be a little warmer. Oh, that might be too warm. And take some of that chroma down. Let's dull it up a little. And the reason being is warm colors will come forward, which is okay given that we've got the sun behind the trees. But I don't want it to compete with this. I'm trying to keep that cool but light area open. Okay. Let's go back to this. So I'm just kind of, this is why you have the three puddles, because you can just kind of start mixing between the three. So I want this to be a little darker, a little cooler down here, and not such a regular edge. Let's get rid of that. All right. And I think it's time to smooth out those shadows. And I want them a little bit more blue. So I'm just going to take that shadow mix I had and just adding more ultramarine. And I'm just creating a glaze. And because this is light, I can do it. Okay, so let's see. Oh, the sun just left us. I just rinsed my brush and I'm just going to run right along the edge here because there are no harsh lines in these shadows. Mm, that's a little too much blue. Yeah, now it's too warm. Okay, good enough. I'm just kind of remembering where the shadows were and thinking about what I have here. Mm, has a little too high chroma, like way too high chroma. Okay, when you do something like that, and it's obviously wrong color, wrong temperature, wrong value, everything, don't touch it. Because in watercolor, the more you touch it, the more the paint lifts, it all gets, like, really yicky and terrible. Alright, I am going to take my big brush. I'm gonna take that middle green again. Yeah, it's a little wet. I'm gonna glaze anyway, so it's gonna be a train wreck. So when you glaze, wait till your painting is dry. Don't do what I'm about to do. But before that dries off, just want to run this right along the edge. Mixing kind of a little bit of both of them together. I'm gonna run right along that edge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this one works. I don't know if you can see what's happening. I'm just kind of scratching in little blades of grass just to kind of give some interest and kind of connect here. This is stuff I never get to do in my studio work. So this is really exciting for me. Okay, it's starting to dry off, so it's not letting me do so much anymore. So when you scratch that way, it actually creates a little tunnel or a channel for all the watercolor and pigment to gather into. so you can get, like, these dark little lines without having to do too much. Let's see. I need to let this dry off a little bit, and while I'm doing that, because I'm gonna take my pen and go over it. What are we at time? Ooh, it's an hour already. I'll stick around a little bit because I have to take my little check the bread break. Um, yeah. Anybody have any questions so far? I think next week we are going to be in my studio because I have a feeling I am going to be trying to finish that owl. And I'm gonna take you along with me. You guys can watch me paint really tight as I get the feathers in and all that stuff. We are right now at the very beginning where I'm kind of slapping down the colors and um let's see. I think I'm gonna use my black pen. I'm just gonna do something on the side and see. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my black pen. So I just tried it out. There's my black and there's my brown. But I think I'm gonna stick with my black pen because these passages I want them to read cooler. Oh, thanks, Martha. Yeah, I glaze in the studio all the time and, you know, painting with watercolors outside is still new. So I'm getting brave at what I can bring from the studio out here, but it's kind of fun. I like just smashing the paint on there. Okay, this is still wet, so I'm not gonna touch that. And I'm probably not going to really touch what we're doing there either in this little thing. I'm just going to kind of look and then expand on it. So all up here, it's nice and dry. So I think I can start to pick out some trees. Actually, hold on, 'cause I'm going to take this off. Okay. Mm, I don't normally like to clean off my palette, but I do need to mop up some of that water because I am going to lay this flat. I notice my microns do not like to be, they don't like me to work vertical. So here we go. So I'm kind of looking at what's happening. Kind of refining some edges too. Yeah. So, like, I don't wanna really define up in here, like, how the edge kind of disappears, but I can make this stronger right here. And that I don't want to touch. I like it how it's like that. So, let's see. Let's look at it. It's looking a little bit more like trees. And then right in here, got some very interesting passages. So, I'm gonna kind of try to darken up right underneath the leaves. So I'm just doing some like single hatching down in there just to make it a little darker. The pen is going to flatten things out, so you want to be really careful. Single hatching is your friend at this point. I kind of keep looking at it up. And like in here, I want it to get a little darker down in here. But again, I'm trying to keep going with the grain or the, how do I say this? Things grow up, not sideways. So I don't want to put like a line down here, but I want our eyes will fill that in. So if you still work in like vertical hatching, like I'm doing here, um, but you kind of follow the imaginary line, our eyes, our brains and our eyes are trained to look for patterns and our brains are hardwired to make sense of them. So by just kind of creating, and I can do some stippling right there, just by creating that visual line, the brain will read it as a line. You don't have to actually put a line in there. That's why if you've ever heard me say there are no lines in the real world, in nature, there aren't. There are boundaries between two areas or two shapes or two planes, and we use lines as a shorthand for that, but there are no real lines. Okay, so like this, I kind of like how that's a little granulated, so I'm just going to add a few stipple marks right there and keep them very irregular. Got some hatching. Let's see right here, we've got that leaf. So the leaves are kind of coming over this. So I'm going to darken that a little bit, just that area. Here it's the same thing. Put some stippling in. So I'm just cross hatching to darken right under the leaf, the way the bushes are, the way those leaves come down. Does that make sense? Okay, hold on. I don't normally crosshatch, but I want that really dark. So I'm going to single hatch in here. And then just going to do a little stippling. Okay. Now let's look at that. This part here. Just come. This is that light area that I don't want to do too much in. But I do want to put some branches that are coming between. and make them cross each other. To, like, maybe put something that's kind of behind. Just to make it look a little interesting. I just want the edges here to read a little darker. Oh, nice little bugs. There. And it's kind of a dead area. It's more like little twigs in the bushes. I'm not going to do too much in here, just leave the mass. Okay, and then here, got some more trees, but they're a little bigger. So I'm just going to use one here. All right. Now I'm going to grab my smaller brush. Let's do this one. I'm going to mix some of that brown that I had from the last time, from last week. Hey, Catalina. Cat? That's right, we can call you Cat. Hi. Yes, it is a gorgeous day outside. I couldn't squander this chance to share the train wreck that is my plein air practice. Okay, so I'm mixing chromatic black with burnt sienna. So it's the brown mix I use 9 times out of 10. If I want something that's more of a gray brown, then I will mix burnt sienna with ultramarine blue. I'm going to pick up some of that green, just so that some of that dark green. First of all, it's going to help mute this brown. Whoops, do you see what I'm doing? It's going to help mute the brown down, but it also kind of creates some consistency because that color is elsewhere in the painting, in the illustration. All right, so what I'm going to do here is actually hit these darker. It's kind of like that. And so, like, where it would be tucked in between the leaves, it'd be darker, maybe a little thicker. So I can use the paint to kind of accentuate that. And maybe a little dark between here. So I'm using it, we're going to use the dairy analogies. I would say it's a milk to cream consistency. It's not super thick, but it's not thin either. So I'm just kind of looking where the sun isn't hitting here at all because it is backlit. but it is kind of creating a world. So you do kind of want to see where things are three-dimensional a bit. So I'm just kind of running the brush down with some paint in it just to kind of help deepen. Sorry. So those read a little bit more like trees. And then maybe make some of these branches a little thicker. Some are thin because they only peak out a certain amount. And just because this is weird how this tree is growing, let's just kind of clean that up a bit. There. So that's looking a little better to me. Now, let's see. I'm going to pick up some of my colder green and maybe hit it with some of this brown because it has the burnt sienna in it. And maybe a little bit more. There we go. So making kind of again, not as thick as cream, but not as thin as a milky consistency. But I want a good amount of pigment on the brush. All right. I took down my little viewfinder, so I'm just kind of having to think about it. So maybe just cut into this a bit. So I start where it's darkest, and as I use up the paint on my brush, it it naturally gets lighter and lighter. And then because I want it to transition kind of into the warmer realm, I'm going to mix in some of that green apatite genuine. And again, starting from where it's going to be darkest, which is down here at the bottom. And then as my brush loses the pigment, I can actually dip in and go up towards the light. That looks too regular, so I just rinsed off my brush, dried it, and I'm just kind of going along that edge. And then I take some of that green apatite genuine and pick up some of the serpentine genuine. And kind of, again, mixing that lighter into the darker. Same consistency. And I don't want to lose that light too much, so I'm going to kind of go into this dark area. Maybe blot my brush too. And just kind of work some of that dark into there. So I just thinned it out a smidgen, and I'm gonna blot to take some of that water out. And look where there's like a dark area I can start in, like right here, and then just kind of go up into the lighter area. And then using this mix with a little bit more of this in it, to kind of have the meat in the middle, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to blot my brush and just kind of start smooshing that out into the greener area and cut into the lighter area. There, that's better. And then I'm picking up that cooler green that I had a little plop there. I'm gonna blot most of the color out of it, most of the water out. I'm doing the same thing, just kind of blotting the water out. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'm doing a really bad job of keeping up with questions. So, Kat asks if I'm painting with gouache. No, I'm painting with watercolor. So there's my watercolor palette. It's just I start off really kind of wishy-washy, and then the more layers I put on, the thicker the paint gets. And that's just the way I paint. So that's something to keep in mind. It's something I teach in my courses too. We always start off with not only with watercolor, you paint from the light to the dark versus, say, pastels or oil paints where you paint from the dark into the lights. Watercolor is the exact opposite because you can't cover over something with a lighter color. Gouache, you could work either way because gouache is opaque and you can layer lighter colors over darker colors. Um, but yeah, so I start with it's not only that you're painting with like more translucent or thinner layers, that's part of it. Um, but and not only that you're painting with lighter colors, You can still put down dark colors, like the owl I'm working on now, he or she, it's a she, she's nesting in a hollow, so there are a lot of darks in there, and I have to map out that color, so I will do a pale version, a watered down version of the dark. So you can still put your dark colors in, you just don't get very thick with the consistency of the paint until towards the end. So, yeah, hope that answered your question. All right, I'm just kind of stepping back. I don't really want to do too much with this or back here because back here is the background. It's kind of the middle ground. I kind of need to put more stuff here. So I know what I'm going to do actually. Where's my pen? Oops, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to have to do this from memory because, of course, none of them are obliging us. Um, so okay. Probably are wondering what the heck is that now? I need tiny, tiny, tiny brush. Yeah, let's go with the. Okay, so I need to pick the color that I have that is most close to what I'm about to do. I need a red. That might be a little too orange for the red that I need, but that's okay because we've got a Munsell palette. So I start with my yellow red. Actually, this is more of a red yellow. And it gives me almost the color I want, but I think it needs to be just a tad cooler. So I go down the Munsell scale. And my next color is my stable red, the red that I use in everything. This is anthraquinoid PR 177, and I just add it to this more yellow red to kind of give it a little, just cool it down a little bit. Now, that is very, very bright. So I have an artistic decision to make. A robin's breast is never this bright. But you know what? This is my painting, and this little bit of, let's start from this side, this little bit of red may actually help kind of pop things out. I'm just going to put that in. Now, because I'm so monochromatic, I'm going to grab a little bit of my quinacridone gold, and I actually want it to be a tad brighter than it is. So this is Hansa Yellow Medium, my most chromatic yellow. It's my mixing yellow. Um, and this was my quinacridone gold, which can be quite bright. It's definitely brighter than raw sienna in my yellows, but not as bright as this. So I'm going to brighten it up by adding just a little bit of Hansa Yellow Medium to it. And I'm not gonna take the chroma down from this either. Oops, gave him too big of a beak. That's okay. Yeah, you can have that big of a beak. And now I'm just gonna pick up one of the dark greens I have and maybe hit it with a little extra chromatic black, which has phthalo green in it, and it has anthraquinoid red in it. And again, it's kind of thick. And I'm just gonna pick up, my brush is still wet, so I'm just gonna roll it in the chromatic black. Make sure I don't have too much anything on it. It's too little to see anyways, but this one. Yeah, good enough. So, kind of made that up. They're not there. But yeah. So, yeah, we keep plugging away at this. It's kind like I said, this is so different from the way I work in the studio, and it's kind of freeing. I just can slap paint around, get really messy, and got paint all over my hands. I love that. Um so it's kind of fun, and when you're outdoors, it's unless you're working in your field journal where you're taking visual notes, in which case, yes, you're gonna you wanna be very accurate, or as accurate as you can be given the time you have. Um, you know, you might have to just kind of, you're not bound by making a picture of your painting, is what I'm trying to say. So, just have fun, throw the paint around, be free. But, yeah, I have to get back to my field journaling, though, because I have shorebirds that I need to work on, but that's a long-term project. So right now I need to get that painting done so I can give it to the gallery. Anyways, does anybody have any questions? Um, Anything on your mind? Otherwise, I think I'm gonna clean up. Been smacking these little ants off of me the whole time. So yeah. But I still have not found a place in the park that I can take you. Just because I lose cell phone reception most places. Or the quiet places that I wanna take you. There's a beaver pond, on the way to, I don't know what the pond is called. It's on the way when you're on the carriage trails in Acadia, it's on the way to Witch Hole Pond. But there's like a littler pond before you get to Witch Hole Pond, and there is this gorgeous beaver house. Oh, that doesn't bode well, Kat. Those are American robins, or my rendition of the American robin. I should make one. Oh, I can make one pull up a worm. So this one that has the really big beak, maybe I make him pull a worm out of the ground. I better give him some legs though. Yeah. Um, so I'm still searching for a place where we can all, like, gather in the park because that's always kind of fun. Yeah, that probably doesn't even read like he's pulling a worm up, but there you go. Yes, but those are American robins because normally they're all over this, but usually not until the sun starts to go down, so, you know. Okay then, well, this is our last wonder-filled Wednesday for the summer, um, and then we start autumn, which is my favorite time of the year. I love all seasons, but autumn, that I'm an autumn. I'm absolutely an autumn. Everything about autumn I love. So, yeah. So, yeah, so we will reconvene after the turn of the month. I don't think it's gonna be next week is not Labor Day, right? It's the week after. So, I think September 1st is the Wednesday, I think. Wait, let me think. 4th is Friday, 3rd no, September 2nd is Wednesday. So, I will see you in September, which is basically next week, and, like I said, we'll probably be in the studio unless I can finish the painting before then, which I am aiming for that, in which case we'll be outside again if the weather holds. Maybe not here. Uh, Maybe we need a different view because 'cause we've painted my side yard twice now. That might be a little too much. So, yeah, but thank you for joining me today. This was so much fun. I hope that you got something out of it and got some time to just relax and paint and draw or just think, whatever. Yeah, so have a wonderful rest of your week and your weekend, and I will see everybody next week. All right, take care.